Welcome to Lighten Up Talk Radio with Michael and Lee. Join us with topics that wake up the connection to your soul. You can listen to us at lightenuptalkradio.com. And we're back for another episode of Lighten Up Talk Radio with Michael and Lee. And it is May 27th, and we're actually recording our second episode today. And Lee, we had to take a little nap in between.
We certainly did. We certainly did.
That was fascinating.
It was very fascinating. It sure was.
And but this episode, we're going to talk about tapping into your intuitive abilities. So we're going to switch it up a little bit.
Absolutely. And our intuitive abilities, it's just been kind of clicking on my head all day that, so many people are, they think differently than really what it is, I think. And so I was talking to Michael, and I said, we just really need to have a topic about this and talk about how that it works for us. And kind of clear up maybe some unknowns that people are a little bit on the
belief system
side, and just kind of clear all that energy up. But before we do that, I want to draw a card.
Fantastic. And what deck are you using today?
This is the Angels.
That's the Dorian Virtue Daily Guidance deck.
Yes. And so let me pick one real fast.
All right.
It needs to be. Okay. Cupid. Wow. We send great waves of love into your heart and mind. It's very interesting. Your clear direction accepts all exceptions and enjoys all of life. Allow yourself to be spontaneous and to always have fun and love in what you do.
Ooh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
Absolutely wonderful. Mm-hmm. So, are you all allowing yourself to have fun today? This is definitely a message of romance, and there's so many different kinds of romance. You can romance yourself by going out and doing something that you've wanted to do and keep putting it off. Having a date with yourself. You can, go out on a date with friends. Just having fun. Lighten it up.
Lighten it up.
All that serious, all work and no play program. This is about play. This little girl on the card's blowing bubbles. Little angel girl.
Little light purple behind. She's pink.
And you know what's fascinating? Has the purples and indigo is the same color of the card that we picked earlier. This day. Mm-hmm. It's fascinating.
And that's also,
on intuition.
Right. And that's also a card that I do not remember ever pulling. And
really?
Do cards almost every day. And in this deck, almost every day. And I've never, to my knowledge, ever picked this card.
That's fascinating. I definitely have.
Yeah.
But, what I'm getting to on that is it's time to go and play outside.
Right.
Be outside with nature. Go dance.
As you had a call in between our shows to do that tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And
you've accepted the offer to do that.
It so is.
Yes.
Whatever calls you that's loving and fun, go do it.
Go do it. And that's probably, I have finished up my back porch now. Mm-hmm. And so probably I've just got to the point of pulling that because now I can go out in nature and enjoy it. And so that kind of resonates with me. That's what came to me that was why now I'm able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I just love it out there. So I've got it exactly the way that I'm very comfortable with it.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I definitely, just as you're talking about with you out there, this message is so strongly for me. It's really about reconnecting with self. Earlier we were talking about finding the true self,
right,
and getting into that. And sometimes, gosh, you need this playtime to do that.
You have to play.
And today we're talking about your intuitive abilities. One of the most important aspects of tapping into your intuitive abilities is playing and finding that inner child, part of yourself, learning how to play, learning how to have fun with it and not be so serious in life. So that's a powerful card to kick this off with, tapping into your intuitive abilities.
Right, because we at times, we really don't have this any type of pretense about what we're going to do. It's just whatever flows into us. Well, there you go. That's our intuitive ability. So that's why, we were talking earlier about the segments that we actually do here. It just flows. We have no notes. We don't have anything, and it's just that I'm looking at his eyes and he's looking at my eyes, and we're just kind of going back and forth with each other because the energy's good and the intuitive ability is there between us. But that was nothing that just comes. I mean, we have it. And it's just tapping into what that it is, and just letting yourself go, and your head just opening up. So many people, I think, have the pretense at times that even when you've got a person that shows intuitive ability in your family, that they really don't want that person to talk to them a lot anymore. They think that maybe that they're reading them, or that they're going to maybe see something secretive that they've got in their head that they don't want this person to see. And, I think that's a pretense that's totally incorrect, because when you have intuitive ability, which everybody does, as I said, but when you tap into that part of you in its own, you don't really go there. For myself, unless somebody just specifically asks me something that they want to know, then I can just go there real fast. But I'm not sitting there waiting on telling you everything that is, reading the minds and that type of thing. That's nothing that I go there to do. And I had an instant a couple of weeks ago that someone was just point blank just asked me a question. I was sitting in the backseat of the car enjoying myself, and we was going out to eat, and I always enjoy myself when I'm going out to lunch. And they just asked me a real fast question about something that I wasn't even in the place of even thinking that, but they thought that I was. And I said, well, let me just be quiet here for a minute, and let me go in and assess that question you asked me, and then I'll just come back and tell you in just a brief moment. You see, that's the way it works. It's not like you're sitting there just assessing every single thing that a person is saying and really trying to judge anything with it. That's not how it works with me. So I think that can kind of take a little fear type away from people, because some people think that they go to an intuitive person because it's fun and it's just something new, and they look at it as a game. Well, personally, I don't feel like it's a game. Personally, it is a situation that the intuitive ability comes from the divine order, and it comes from that way, and it's tapping into yourself, which is what we've been talking about in our past episodes, and it's how that you can go in and really find the way to a lot of questions that you have. That you can go in and really clarify it within your own mind and assess it within your own self. You read, you can actually go in and you can read other people much better than you can yourself at times. A lot of times it's a lot more work to go within us, but that's the way it's designed, because that's the way that it grows your intuitive ability, and you get more and more and more. And the more energetic that you can be with other people that has the same mindset as you do, as far as a lot of your thinking and a lot of the ways that you do things, I think that it strengthens that at times. And we've had a lot of fun in circles that we've actually done in the past and still doing, and it can be just fun as far as just tapping into each other, because everybody is wanting to do that. So you're in that moment. You're
in a circle of
friends,
minded folks that are open.
And what has been your experiences, Michael?
Well, you know what, as you're talking, what I thought maybe a really great way to start from my end is talking a little bit about how the intuitive abilities work, like the different aspects of it, because you were talking a lot about the knowing, like where you get messages and you're knowing, you get thoughts and those kind of things. There's the knowings, there's the feelings, there's the hearing, and there's the seeing. There are technical words for those, but as I'm in the mode of kind of tossing those out, or kind of back in the simple.
We're
simple. So sometimes I'll see a vision. Sometimes I will just know things, and when I know them, it's just like I know it. It's that's what it is. And for me, feeling is very powerful, and it's one that I just really can't turn off anymore. It's on all the time, and seeing, and then hearing. Did I say hearing? Mm-hmm. Hearing's another one where you may hear either messages in your mind, or sometimes people hear them, like spirit talk, through their, physical ears. You can even work in that vibration. So there's a lot of different ways to pick up psychic insight, intuitive insight, and it's divine. It's all divine, that psychic insight. And again, all of those abilities also work exchange, like together. They all blend together as one unit. So if you get a thought, I don't know about you, Lee, but I almost always, when I get a thought, have a feeling which guides me into how to speak it, or whether, what I need to do with it. Just keep it simple. At this point, we'll keep it real simple.
Right.
Because I think everyone's had experiences where you get some kind of thought and a feeling at the same time. So for me, it's just like kind of looking at it kind of in a broad spectrum. These are the kind of the different areas that this stuff occurs. And when I do readings, I get a conglomeration of it all. It all comes in. Visions, feeling of, the deceased loved one, if someone wants to come through, seeing, hearing things, getting perceptions and thoughts about them, and it's all flowing, and it's like a river that flows through. Obviously, that's not from day to day. That's not how it works. But when I'm sitting in a session with the intention of being a receptor for this person's highest good, then it flows kind of like that river of all these different pieces. But from the day to day and just listening, the more, at least I've found, the more that you're able to be quiet and still and mindful and observant with life, as well as participate in life, that you're able to utilize these pieces of information that are coming in. And one thing that you said earlier that just kind of drew back is, it's important, as you don't just go and just blast people at this stuff. It's intervening with their free will. If they ask you, or if you get a strong, it's happened to me where I get a really strong message for somebody, and I'll just, especially if I know them or something, and I'll go up and I'll just say, I just keep thinking this thought about you. Would you mind if I share it?
Right.
Or something like that, to where it's not interfering with them. And if they say yes, great. If they don't, I tried.
That's right. That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
What are your thoughts on all that?
I agree with that, and as the vast majority of people, they're very intrigued with it anyway, mm-hmm. and they really want to have the answer. And when they perceive it, to say, "Oh yeah, I want to hear it, but I'm scared of it," and I say, "What are you scared of?" Because I wouldn't have received it anyway if there was anything to be scared of. So you have to think about it on that side too.
Yeah.
There's not going to be anything that's going to be coming from divine order. There's going to be anything that's going to frighten you, scare you, any of that type of thing. It's just not going to happen. And everyone comes in with a sense. You touched upon that. Everyone comes in with a sense. And I believe that there's maybe out of the four senses, you've got two that could be stronger than others, because that's the way that's designed to be. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times a person with sight, because I kind of go in with that too, but I'm kind of different, because I see the sight when I have my eyes shut. And that is a very different situation. Whereas most people are looking and they see the sight. I see better with my eyes shut. And I see the picture within mm-hmm. what's going on. It's kind of like me being in a movie theater and I'm watching a movie. And I'm totally seeing it that way with my eyes shut. And I can be in a perfectly dark room, but to me it's not. And I don't think I've ever spoken with anybody that has had it that type of way. So that's kind of an unusual way, but that's the way I was supposed to receive it.
Yeah.
And I live in a home that's very spirit oriented. And at any given time, when you can walk in the door, you're standing there and you can see the spirit that's here in the home, and they're always going to be loving spirits. Because that's the intention that I put into this home. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be kind of a joyful thing. This is kind of a party type thing, a happy type thing, mm-hmm. And I have a son that actually is a wonderful seer, and he will say to me, kind of a joking mode, he got. There was a person in the kitchen when he came in from work the other night, for an example, about 10 o'clock, and he said, "Mom," he said, "would you please have a conversation with this guy in the kitchen because he keeps greeting me?" And I said, "Well, since you see him, you have a conversation with him." So it's kind of that type of thing. And if you kind of make it in a joyful type mood, there's not any fear around it. I've never felt fear around any of this because, again, if you have total belief in the way that the divine operates, it's always going to be in a loving manner. And if you choose not to go there as far as any of the sight or any of the hearing or any of the feeling or whatever that is, then you won't have it. That's something I think you have to kind of tap yourself into to be able to receive any of it, even though every person has that within them to do.
Their own divine combination of
that is correct.
perfect mm-hmm. intuitive insights and abilities. Mm-hmm. And just because one of us says that we perceive something this way through our human divine tool, that we have here to mm-hmm. work through, does not mean that that's how you're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And my recommendation is to ask and to put the intention out to receive, and to get to know your abilities better, to ask for them to be revealed to you in their divine unfolding, because I can mm-hmm. tell you right now from my journey that if I would have had them turned on all at once from the way that they are now, it wouldn't have worked.
Correct.
So there's a divine order to the unfolding of your abilities, and it may take years to get opened up to a huge amount. It may take some years because you have to go through a lot of life lessons. And one thing that I think you started to touch on, Lee, was all these things, all these are so divine. However, if you bring negativity from your own life into the mix, you're going to experience negativity. You're going to be opened up to a mirror of negativity in different things because you're going to bring it in. And it's about you. It's not about the divine stuff. It's just you're going to experience it if you have not dealt with it. When you go and open these doorways to the divine, I'm just using the word divine because there's just so much to this. We could talk show after show after show of different layers and ways that these things have worked with us. But it is so important just to let this process of whatever it is for you unfold, and so that the natural clearings happen. That you work through the life lessons that you need to work through. For example, one of the things for me, I was not a seer when I was growing up. I've always been a very open, empathic, and feeling person, and one that would hear things in the mind and get thoughts. I've always been more of that style, but when I went out on this focused journey that I was ready to open up to my fuller self, I started working on the vision, and now it's it's pretty much equally strong with the others. I feel really balanced in the way, but it's taken me to have to face a lot of things from childhood and other lifetimes, for that matter, and other experiences that scared me when I would see it. And don't get me wrong, I still work with go through some of those things, and I know that the sight and all of these abilities have an infinite capacity. The more that we open up, I don't think one can say it's going to stop here.
Right.
So just take your time with it. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the ride. And know that when it's right for you to open up a little bit more, it will happen.
Right.
So will.
I like to touch a little bit about that, too, because it just came back around to me about my son in the kitchen. This is my youngest child that absolutely was seeing things and just never spoke about it with me. And I found it out through another child that I have that he was going in there and he was talking about it with his sibling, but really didn't discuss that much with me. And so I just kind of walked in the room one night, and I just clarified a lot of things, because I think it's very important to know that there should be really a lack of fear with this, because anything that you're going to see, if you put your intentions right, it's lack of fear. And I just kind of sit down for about a 15-minute conversation, and I said, I understand that this is going on. And any time that you want to talk with me about this, I'm definitely open to talk about it. I also will tell you that if it's something that absolutely you don't want to go there and to see, then you need to ask not to. And I said, because that will in your own mind will stop you to a point of not seeing it maybe as much, or being frightened by it, or you get a hold of yourself and say how wonderful this is, because there's nothing that is going to come in here that's going to bother you at all, you see.
Yes.
But that choice, I think when I kind of put that choice out there, that he understood that he had the energy to be able to do that, it totally changed the whole perspective of it. And it's like something just clicked in his head and said, just because I walked through the door, I'm not having to look both ways to see if I'm going to be running into somebody, that type of thing, because he was seeing it in that manner. And I just kind of went through the process of ghost, of exactly, why sometimes they're earthbound, why that most of the time the ghosts that you see, they're more scared of you than you are of them, and that the process of the ghost is normally about a 3-foot window up from our normal floor level. And so a lot of people have this conception that they're floating in the air, that they're just floating by, it's really kind of funny to me, but it's really in there in a different dimension. And so trust me, whenever you see a ghost type figure and you see it flash away from you, because they're normally scareder of you than you are of them, because they're at a different plane. And that was a huge lesson that I had to learn myself about that. And it's nothing to be there to scare you. It's to say I'm here. It could be and a lot of people say, well, I don't even know who they are. Well, you don't in this lifetime. It could be somebody that you passed in another lifetime. It could be just somebody coming by and passing by, just wants to say hello. It's just total divine, or it wouldn't be there. And that's the way I look at it. And I explained this to him. It would not be here if it wasn't divine, because there's tools that every day I clear this house. Every morning when I get up, I clear it. I put the white light around it. I put the purple light, the green light, and the gold light around it, which is total protection over the whole area. And to me, and it's just to me, that totally puts divine light over everything here. So how could anything that's other than that come into this space? And it just totally cleared the whole situation out. And it's amazing when you really get to the right perspective of seeing or feeling or hearing or just knowing, how comforting that can be, to know that you actually have the honor of people coming in here and actually wanting to be in the loving space that you have and to love back and forth. So it's not around, like a lot of things you see on the TV, this paranormal stuff. That, to me, when I look at that, is just absolutely not really what it is. I guess if your mind felt like you was totally in fear mode all the time and you wanted to scream and holler and talk about all this stuff about beating and come on out and this, I mean, it just totally tears me apart, because you have to always understand that if it's a ghostly thing, it's a person. It's a person to me. And so why would I treat anybody like that? And I think that a lot of the TV type sensationalism, because it has people looking at it and it sells ads and money and this, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. It's not the true picture. Self of looking at what the true picture is. Mm-hmm. And if I could say, just one thing out of this session today is, just don't buy into that type of thing, because that's not what it is.
I think that's why we're here, Lee, to help bring a different perspective on some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. If all we do with the show is get you to look at things maybe a little bit differently, then that's amazing. Mm-hmm. And I had a thought that came up that was kind of interesting for me. You were talking about, people's fears and this and that with the paranormal or ghosts and all that stuff. And really, it's not any different. I think a lot of us are not real comfortable with dealing with other people. Whether it's a human or something on the other side, because we're not really comfortable with ourselves.
Right.
There's something within that is not comfortable enough with self to reach out with compassion and help another being. Whether it's, now there are plenty of us out there that are, but when you run into somebody, whether it's a ghost or this or that, there's something about ourselves. It's an opportunity. I use that word a lot because to me, everything in life is an opportunity. Every situation, everything.
I agree with that.
Is an opportunity
to
expand into learning more about yourself. And every experience is a mirror. And so with the ghost activity or someone that's crossed, that's earthbound, I mean, it's an opportunity. Sometimes they just want help too. There's that are searching for something and they're kind of stuck in a place. And if you're open within yourself to go there, you can actually help them see maybe where they're looking for something more. Where they're stuck, you could be a helping hand to take them back into the dimension that they're ready to go in of total purity and wholeness. And again, that is all of our divine right and ability to help one another, no matter on what plane we're on. We can be compassionate, loving, help for one another. And I think, what is this life about if you don't help each other? It would be pretty dang boring from my perspective.
Yeah, mine too. And, we've had experiences that we have gone into homes and actually cleared these homes. And I think one of the most beautiful things that I personally can speak about is that the first time that what you were talking about before, as far as clearing the people, was that actually seeing and asking, would they like to go to the light?
Yeah.
Because it's time. And to see the archangels come in, such as Archangel Michael and Raphael and Gabriel and whomever. You can call the angels in at any time, and they're here in less than just a glimpse of a second. And they will come in. And then you put a circle around this energy, and it's just been amazing to see. There was one home, I don't even know how many there were, but there was so much energy in that room. It was thousands that came in. Because we asked for a radius of a certain amount that it was landlocked to be able to go to the light. And you could just feel it, couldn't you, Michael?
Oh, yes.
And we actually had some people that was with us that had never even encountered that. And they were weeping and crying because they felt it. They felt the energy of that. And to be able just to ask for their acceptance that they would like to go, yes, they're ready. When you stand in a circle and you just hold hands, and then you just let the angels just come in and you can just feel it go. You can feel the energy of it just go, and it's freedom. That is a purpose of life, to be able to do that type of work. That is totally a purpose of life.
That's
It's just
beautiful.
like in clearing a home. That is a lot of times can be your purpose of life of doing that. There's people that just go in, they just clear a home. Because whenever maybe the person has actually passed in the home, and they've been in that home for years, and they love it and they don't want to leave it. You see those type of things a lot of times on the TV shows again.
That's on every plane,
But
right?
it's on every plane. It's on every plane.
Hoarders of
That's right.
all kinds of things.
And so these people are just stuck, and they're going through the same. It's kind of like a tinker tape parade through their house every day, because they're going in there and they're doing all their daily chores like they did before, and this, that, and the other. And then it's difficult for the new homeowners to go in there because they feel that, or they see it, or they hear it, or they know it, or whatever. And so there's clearings for that. But I see that as total grace. Total grace that individual is no longer in the cycle of their being here on this earth, and able to send those people to the light, to where they're in the light of God and all the heavens and all the. I mean, what a wonderful thing that is. That's a total blessing.
Oh, yes.
That's a total blessing. And so for the people that's actually living in that home there, it clears the energy in that home, because homes definitely clear energy. I recommend, and this is my recommendation, but I recommend that at least every 6 months that you change out something in your home. If it's nothing but moving furniture from one side of the room to the other, because it's incredible how that type of thing holds energy, and sometimes
Stagnates.
it's not the energy that you want, in the home with you. And I know I have people come in here and say, "Oh my God, you've moved this, that, and the other." Yes, that has been a routine of mine for years.
But your house is always, whenever I come in here, it's so filled with loving energy and powerful energy.
Well, and that is called a work in progress at all times, because that's the way that I get up in the mornings to do it that way. And I think that is just grace for my whole family. Also grace for if there's someone that's here that that needs to move on. That's grace for that.
Yes.
And it actually gives an environment of every time that somebody enters your space, there's a residue there. A residue, and you can just clear it. You just clear it out. And that's a daily practice. I use it. There's the tools again. I use the incense sticks. I use the sage, and go around and use crystals. I have crystals all over this house for the energy factor of that. Water, fountains, all of that. Every piece of that is tools that you can work with what we're talking about today to be able to live in a home environment that is totally beautiful, and the energy is always there in a very positive, happy manner.
And that's, it's all in the intention of it. All of these tools, there's so many different tools. And when I use the word tool, I'm thinking of a physical kind of device rather, or something to use. But even with all of these devices, it's still the intention of bringing it into your home. That to me is one of the most powerful aspects of it. And I was drawn a little bit back, Lee, to what you were talking earlier about working and helping people that are stuck cross over. And I've had many situations, and it took me a while to get there. And I still have to, when I meet a soul on the other side that is stuck, I have to be very mindful to allow myself to be with them, be present with them, just as if someone were sitting right in front of me, where I can be present with them. And there's a part of me that wants to just, okay, it's time to go, let's move on. But I've found that I'm a counselor, whether it's in this human realm or whether it's for these beings. Just as the angels help counsel us, sometimes I have to help counsel, a being that doesn't know where they are, or is, stuck, so to speak, in a pattern, like you were talking about earlier, confused. And so taking the time to be with that being and help them see, listen to what they have to say, and be with it, and share some other perspectives, and help them see why it may be a good idea at this time for them to move on, and help them understand that their family's on the other side, is they have family members and this and that and the angels and all these other kind of things that can help them. For me, one of the most important things is really just realizing that just because someone's on the other side, that doesn't mean that they don't need to be listened to as well. And being a counselor, sometimes it needs counseling, and you don't always have to know how to do all this stuff. Again, I'm going to go back to simple. This stuff is very simple, and if it becomes complicated, you're just thinking in your head too much. It is not complicated, and anyone that would say that is working processes that they just don't want to share from as far as I'm concerned, because this stuff is so simple. It's just like talking to another person. They're just maybe not in the same dimension that we're in, and it's so important to be present with them and just help them work through whatever it is. And I know you're ready to say something there about all of that, Lee.
I'm sitting here on the edge of my seat, Michael. You can tell I'm very anxious about that comment.
You love these topics.
I do. It just came to me that I do a lot of releasement work with people. That is one of the tools that I use, and
we're going to be doing some of that on the show, by the way.
Yes, we are. And a lot of the people that I see, it comes from the medical industry.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest majority of my clients come from the medical industry. And what I understood, and I really got to thinking about analyzing this to a degree, that a lot of the times that these the people that are stuck, they don't even know that they are gone from this plane. There's been a lot of situations that there's been car accidents that was just a sudden collision, and it's like their spirit walked away, but they had no idea that they weren't on this plane where we're at now. They still felt like they still felt like they were. And so what happened with that is they would actually attach themselves to the energy of what medical person that was there. That was rescued. That was the ambulance drivers or the nurses or the doctors or whatever was energetically to where they could attach to that person, and they could say, "Oh, okay, I'm still here." I mean, you hear that a lot, again on the TV thing. You hear that a lot, to where a person actually can cross over, then come back, and the experience that they have with a lot of that. But this is actually a person that doesn't even know that they've passed over. They don't even recognize that. And they will wander and wander and wander for a long time. And they just attach their energetic field onto this individual. And then in that particular situation, when you run across that, it's releasing that. It's releasing the person and speaking with the person that is attached to that individual. And to say, okay, your mother, your father, your sisters, your brothers, whatever that is already up on the other side, they're waiting for you. They're waiting for you to come. And whenever the releasement is done on that level, or the level we were talking about before, as far as a major amount in a certain place, I always just try to say to them, you need to look up. It's very amazing. And when you say look up, because the angels are already there, look up. And when you look up, you're going to see your family members there looking at you. And there's no fear there, because I have felt in numerous situations that the person was fearful to leave because they felt okay here. So they were fearful. And when you would just say, take the look of your family up on the other side looking at you, and they've been waiting for you. I have never, and I've done a lot of this type of work, but I've never had anyone not to go. That was their choice. That was their free will. They could have said, no, I'm not interested. But it has never worked that way. They've looked at it, they said, wow, the mother and father they're looking for here on this plane has already crossed over, because they could have been on this plane for years And they're still looking at themselves at 15, 16, 20 years old, whatever time that they cross, that they had that accident, okay? They don't see themselves at anything but that age. So there's no thought pattern that their family has already gone, and they're just waiting on them.
Yes.
It's a lovely, beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to look at.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a very important thing in my life to do. When I recognize that, not only that, the person that the energy has attached to that individual, I've always heard from them when this treatment was done, they felt much lighter. They never recognized that there was an attachment there, but when the attachment left to go, they were much lighter feeling, and they could just feel the lift of that energy leaving them, to where they were much clearer. Yeah. And so what that has done is that a lot of these people, maybe once a year, they'll want to say, "Hey, check this out. I'm not feeling real." They start getting to there. I'm feeling kind of like I did when this person there. Maybe somebody's there. Is that so? You see. So instead of them going into their self, they're not interested in doing that, but they want somebody else to feel that. But it's always been a release on both sides, the energy.
Yeah, that's amazing. I have a lot of thoughts all of a sudden about all this, but one of the first one I want to start with, really drawn to, is the whole idea of during a releasement process, it's not about controlling it.
No.
It's about setting it free and being just a guidance. Here it is. Like you said, just here it is. It's different, which what I wanted to talk about next. It's different when some of the situations that I've dealt with, I've had people that drink, are alcoholics or drink, and they get attachments from the bars or wherever else, just because when you drink or you do things that basically it's like you're opening yourself up to everything that energetically that's out there. You just kind of give up your free will in some way. You just kind of give it up. Even though they give it up, these entities are still moving in without asking permission. And this is kind of a different scenario than what you were talking about earlier. And there's different ways that happens, but typically drugs and alcohol are a way where people can just, and they can even be addicted because they have these attachments of beings on the other side that are stuck in alcoholism vibration. They're just seeking. They passed on in that mode, and they're still seeking it out through someone else. And so that's something that you would deal with maybe in a little bit different way. And for me, oftentimes I do like to work with the angels because it is their job to assist us with these kind of situations, or really anything that we ask them to do or help with. They'll give us insights. But I oftentimes, and I'm sure many of you out there, have worked with Archangel Michael to assist these people that are ready to let go of this type of energy that feels stuck. I worked with someone one time that was completely stuck in alcoholism. And when I got to them, I saw, I believe there were 5 entities that were stuck with him. And literally he couldn't just stop drinking. It was constant. And it was just in a total stupor. And immediately after the clearing, these beings were cleared from his energy field, and Archangel Michael did the work. I just asked for help with it and set that strong, holding the presence that it's time for this to happen, and that it happened for the highest good for even these beings as well. It's time for them to move on and out of interfering with this person's free will, and it's time for this person to take his power back. And immediately he was freed of that cycle. Not to say, I believe he still had some issues, but they were dealing with his own issues after that. But sometimes attachments can make this stuff way worse. They can just flare it up. So be mindful when you're around people, particularly ones that that are even open for your help, that you can assist very easily by asking for divine intervention and calling on the angels. Archangel Michael is a really powerful angel to help with these kind of things we're talking about today, helping people cross over, helping the attachments be lifted, so to speak. So I don't know, Lee, do you have any other cool stories that you've...
I could probably write a book.
Oh my gosh. Well, remember that house that we went to?
Yes.
We helped the lady. There was a lady that was passing on of cancer, and she lived in this house that was 200... It was at least 200 years old.
Yes.
And
Confederates.
I was originally asked to go in and just take a look at it because they were having all kinds of activity and help her. And when I went in there, that was one of the most amazing learning experiences for me, especially working with people that had not crossed into the light, because this house was filled with every generation and layers of patterns and things from the slavery periods all the way through, where people had been abused, neglected, all the way through control issues, all the way through to the present day, where this woman was still being controlled by her husband, who had passed on and was stuck in the house and guarding it with the gun, and that energy was still present. I'm getting chill bumps talking about it. And how it was so overwhelming when I went in there, because I needed help to kind of, because we've got to piece this apart. Sometimes these things take time. You can't just go in there and just blast through millennia of patterns and help all these things happen all at once. It's a cycle. And I think I went 2 times before I asked Lee, I need your help. You've got to come in here and help me with this, because sometimes some energies are better than others at working with different things. And when you came in, it was extremely helpful. I remember right off the bat, because you were able to communicate. I didn't have the patience at the time to communicate with the husband. I couldn't connect with him. He wouldn't listen to me, and he immediately listened to you. It took you a little bit, but I'll never forget the conversations that you had with him, because they helped me at the time realize that I need to just slow it down. It's not about me trying to get him to go. It's about listening to what was going on with him and helping him see what he needed to see, so that he could see that it was time to go, not because I wanted him to go. And it was such a learning process. And that house, as we did that, as we work through this, and I know you're going to have a lot to say about it too, Lee, but the woman there, the strings were for her were cut, and we were able to help her move on without taking that baggage with her. And it was such a beautiful experience. And that is the gift of being able to work with, both sides, because it helps people not take it on with them and have to come back and learn the stuff again. Some of the stuff's pretty simple, it's just let go. You don't have to continue that on, but sometimes it's the counselor has to come in and help them just be willing to change, be willing to let go. And I think that's what we did in that house.
Right, because we was in that house for quite some time.
Hours?
For hours. And
we went back twice together, I think 4 times total.
Yes. We went back 4 times. But it was it was needed to go back on several different occasions. And what was happening in this home was that the caretakers that was with her, this husband, was interfering with their work with her. And they were having difficulty even keeping anybody there, because he was interfering. He was interfering with them. He wouldn't let them sleep. There was all kinds of. They were just frightened out of their mind, because this gentleman was walking around the house, and we saw this with a gun in his hand, saying, "You're in my home." And of course, they didn't see that, but they could feel the energy of that type of thing, and they could not keep anybody there. And it was a situation. She was very critical. And the call came, and it was just a wonderful thing to see that she was able to go herself when it was her time, to where she could go in peace. Because there was still a fearful thing that was in her mind, that he did not want her to leave that house.
Yeah.
And she had the thought pattern that she would just be there with him roaming around in that house. And that totally left for her. It was a totally happy spirit when she left because she did not have to be attached there.
She knew it was okay.
She knew it was okay. Mm-hmm. And what had happened was the caretakers, because we followed up on this one, it was a very tense situation.
A lot of drama.
And the caretakers were able to stay there. What was happening is she was in this den, just this one room, this den, and these caretakers, they were all sitting there because they couldn't even go into their rooms to even take a rest from it because they felt
hanging on the walls.
They felt the energy of him walking around with a shotgun in his hands, which is exactly what he was doing. God. And so it was a very interesting scenario, and it was a learning process to whereas we could talk through that type of situation with them to where they were more relaxed. Mm-hmm. And I know we'll go on to this to keep on with this topic
love this
again.
stuff.
And also the next time we go into this, we will go into even a more intense and a different type of intense situation that I was called upon to go to on the other side of Nashville, Tennessee. And that was with a child. So we will go with that with another topic in another time.
This is going to be a series that's going to be ongoing. And until at some point we're going to have call-ins. But until now, we're going to share lots and lots of stories.
Lots and lots. And I might touch upon this. It's going to be coming up too. Is that, we're in the energy of 2012. We believe that the UFOs, they've been here for years.
Oh yeah.
Has been a lot of non-disclosure with that because people really doesn't want people to think they're here. Mm-hmm. They're just imagining all this thing. And we're also going to go into those type of topics and the experiences that we have had with that type of energy, and how that it's going to manifest itself by the end of this year. To where it's going to be a wonderful series that we will talk about that type of thing as well. I think that one of the things that I would like to say is that you can go onto YouTube and pull up Presbyterian Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I'm originally from, and you can actually see to where Archangel Metatron actually walked into a unit that was intensive care, and there was a lady that was there that the doctor had called in all the family, and he had just given her just a couple of hours to live. She had severe cancer, and that Metatron actually walked through the doors of the ICU unit. You can't get through there without alarms and this, that, and the other, but here was this 7-foot yellow vision type individual walking through there, and actually went straight into her room, and you can see the nurses standing behind the counter looking at Metatron, and the angel went in there and actually touched her, and then turned around and walked right back out the same way, and the family was just awed, and this lady got up within the hour from her bed, and they released her, and she went home. And the doctor checked. Everything was perfect. She was back in perfect order. So a lot of that type of situations that we can document, and you can actually go and you can see this because this was the big deal.
That one
Charlotte,
actually went viral.
It went viral, and it was on the front page of the newspapers in Charlotte. And I mean, of course, that triggered me because my family still lives there. So there's a lot of exciting things that we're going to speak about.
Yes, I can't wait to even what you brought up. We made a recent trip to Florida and had amazing escorts down to Florida. That was so amazing.
We did.
So we'll get into a lot of that kind of stuff later. So join us again. You have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon. Lots of love.
And lots of love.